Good morning and welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Pace and I'm here to talk to you of how to fight CPS and how to get your children back if they're taken from you. I really want to welcome you all and thank you so much for listening. We're here. I can share my experience with CPS and also other people in this room that want to talk about it too. Um, it's a live podcast. I'm from broadcast from Southern California, and I welcome all of you, not only you from the United States but from the world. Because yes, there are people that listen to me from other countries. There's been 10 countries so far that have sent in comments. Now, there are several ways to interact with this podcast. One way is to call in at 626 698 0990. You call in and uh, you can speak live on my show, and I'll put you on speakerphone and we can talk about your case. So all you do is call my office phone at 626 698 0990. 0990. And you'll be live and we can talk about your CPS case. I like to keep this room about the child protection system. It's a branch of social services that is supposed to help our children from neglect and abuse and do family reunification. It's important that the family is reunified if it's broken apart by CPS. The biological mother and father are the best parents that you could studies have shown that can take care of children. The biological parents, the mother and father, are so important there. Now, another way you can uh, interact with this podcast is you can type in a comment. Now, when you type in a comment about your CPS question, please show your name, city, state, or country, and be complete with your CPS case. Now, I did say it right, country, because so far I've had comments from Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, Ghana, and South America. Let me see here. Mexico, um, Mozambique in Africa on the east side, close to Madagascar. Um, I have that one. And then Denmark. And lastly, I've been having someone a couple of times from Liberia. That's on the west coast of Africa. And the gentleman's name is Archie, and he's a scout leader. And he wants to talk on his show. I told him to get a hold of our producer, Grace, and she can help him get on the show as a guest. So that's what you do. You type in the comments. You found us on Facebook. I broadcast on YouTube. I'm using the StreamYard application. Now, if you're not ready to talk, you're not ready to do any comments, you may want to be a guest on a show at a later date. I have 14 shows a week, 2 shows a day, one at 10 o'clock in the morning, Pacific Standard Time for an hour, except on Sunday, it's at 8 o'clock in the morning for an hour. The other time is the evening show at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that's also for an hour. And so those are the 14 shows I'm doing. So all you have to do is pick a show Monday evening, Wednesday morning, Tuesday evening, Tuesday morning, whatever it is that suits you, have 14 to pick from. She will help you get on to the podcast. All you have to do is write to Grace. She's our show producer. Grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And she would gladly help you get on the podcast. She show the ropes. She's a really special person that does a good job as my show producer. It helps me out a lot. So contact Grace at vincentwdavis.com, and she gladly talk to you. Now, there's been 3. Okay. Let me readjust. Oops. Let me readjust the pose here. Let me try to adjust it here. There we go. Hopefully this is better. This is better here. Thank you. So I'm going to leave the phone number up here if you want to call in. And that's 626 698 0990. And I'd love to have you talk on the show. It'd really be nice. Now I have a host who's trying to work on her computer, so I'll touch base and say, hopefully that see what she's okay. Let's see. Okay. Now I have Faye in Richmond, Kentucky. Who's my other host. Now Danielle has been trying to get her computer fixed. So, I'm not a lawyer, and I am a man, a loving man, a father of 6, married 32 years, a professional, and I care about my family. I also care about you, and I want to make sure I can help you with your case. I know it may sound discouraging and it may sound disappointing, but you will get your kids back. It just takes time and a lot of frustrations. You're dealing with an agency that's very corrupt, very, 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 very corrupt. They will lie to you. You know, they're not transparent. They'll take revenge. The whole purpose is to traffic your children. Yes, you heard me right. Traffic your children so that they can make money. It's an $80 billion business that CPS does that they get from the federal government a year, 80 billion. And all they do is take the children and put them into foster care. It's the norm. They may not be in imminent danger, but they take them. So you got to be careful of how they talk to you and how they take your children. I have some rules to go by um, that will help you, but you have to understand the agency. Now, there's some visual pictures out there, and my co-host Daniel has them. But there was these group of ladies. They're social workers that worked for the child protection system. They worked out of Arizona, and they're called the DCS, the Department of Children's Services. Every state may have different acronyms, but I'm talking about the Child Protection System, CPS. So these were 8 social workers, ladies. I don't know why I want to call them ladies, but they're from Prescott, Arizona. In 2022, 2 years ago, decided that it would be nice for them to parade around with T-shirts. So they went out and got pink T-shirts. And on the front of the T-shirts, they put professional kidnappers. Now, what does the message convey here? Professional kidnappers. And on the back of the T-shirts, it said, "Do you know where your children are?" Now, those two things combined together tells you the attitude of social workers. They want to kidnap your child, and that's funny. That's not funny. And to make it, they walked around with those T-shirts in department stores and other stores, and they got busted right away, and they're immediate fired along with the director because that's unheard of a social worker, but that's their attitude. And I think 99% of the social workers are like that. I've only had one social worker that was listening that called in and talked for a good 40 minutes. It was nice. It was nice to have somebody from the other side explain what they were doing in Maryland. Her name was Carol. And as I say, she talked and painted a different picture than I knew of CPS. I know it intimately, I know it firsthand. 3 of my children were kidnapped, trafficking by CPS into foster care system. The foster care system, it's where they have shelters, group homes, or single family homes. And they usually have a parent that's gone through training, or not necessarily a parent, a couple. They may not have children and always wanted children. And they look at an easy way to adopt because when you're in foster care, it goes faster with adoptions and children and stuff. I don't know if that's because the parents, I mean the social workers are like that. But these social workers are the worst kind to deal with. They are so bad. They're so bad. They they'll lie, they'll cheat. There's nobody watching them. And one of my listeners, Faye, says in Richmond, Kentucky, there's over $800,000 of unaccountable income that is unaccounted for. And it shows that they are corrupt. And that's a lot of money to not show for anything there. Recently, a social worker on her Facebook page decided to put an ad from 1848. And it was a really sickening ad. It was black children for sale. Now, in the 1800s, black people were used as slaves, as well as Indians and Chinese and Irishmen and things like that. But the black people predominantly were. And when they put out that ad, that was sickening. That should never have. Why she wants to display it now? Why stir up something that's over? I don't know. People still like to be bad. I mean, they weren't even born at the time of the Civil War. The ad was put out there. But the social worker in bad taste put the ad on. So I'm telling you, and I'm trying to paint the picture that the people you're dealing with, they're not professional. They're not there to help you. They're there to kidnap your children, traffic them into foster care, and hopefully you'll leave them alone, and they're able to do that for a period of time. So you have to be careful out there. You have to be knowledgeable. The internet is full of knowledge, and you got to be able to research it and learn all about how to fight CPS. That is the hard part. How do you fight them when they're so corrupt and they don't like parents, they don't like grandparents, they don't like seniors, they don't like elderly people. They are bad. They're bad news. And you, as victims, you don't know that. You weren't born with a manual of how to fight CPS or how to get your kids back or how to raise children. None of us is born with that information. We learned that hopefully at some time in your senior year of school, but so I'm telling you that I've developed 3 rules. And these rules are such a way that it will help you. Now, rule number 1 is I feel the most important one. That is to get an attorney. Now, if you don't have an attorney, you're going to have a terrible time trying to fight CPS. They're so awful that when you're fighting CPS, you're like Alice in Wonderland that fell in a rabbit hole or going through rooms that are crazy rooms off of your head and doors that don't open any place. That's what CPS is. You need somebody that can strategize and navigate in CPS. And that's a fighter. So, rule 1, and we have an attorney here that produces a show. It's Vincent W. Davis and Associates, a law firm in Southern California. And the chief attorney is Mr. Vincent W. Davis. He's been practicing dependency family law for 35 years, over 35 years. He's a fighter. He can fight CPS. He's not afraid to fight. In fact, he has sued CPS both state and federal courts. So, with that being said, he is determined to get your kids back. Determined to get your kids back. And He is available. You can reach him at his office at 888-888-6582. All you have to do is tell the office that Bob Pace sent you. And then when you speak to Mr. Davis, tell him that Bob Pace sent you. And that's really important there. Now, he'll talk to you for 30 minutes for $60. That's his consultation fee for 30 minutes. $30, $60 for 30 minutes. $60 for 30 minutes, and he'll talk to you. You can also go to his calendar and schedule an appointment time. All you have to do is go to Candely, that's CADECALENDLY.com/law office of VWD/Bob Pace. It's the ticket right across the bottom of the screen. That's how you can go to his calendar and check to see when he's available. And it'd be the best $60 you ever spent in your life because he'll clear up a lot of things. He's been there. And if you want to hire him, he'll talk about his retainer. He will go to all the different states. Right now, he practices in Southern California, but he'll go to Northern California and places like Oklahoma, Arizona, wherever it takes him there. So all you need to do is talk to him. So that's rule one. Because if you don't get an attorney, can you imagine doing open heart surgery yourself, cutting open your chest? Or maybe get a neighbor to do it to you? Or better yet, have a plumber or a auto mechanic perform the operation? No, you're going to get a professional doctor. And that's what I mean by attorneys. The court-appointed attorney is only good. They have like 20 cases, so they don't have time. So that's going to be really, really, really hard. Also, they will not fight for you. They're not fighters against CPS. Because why? They're friends. At least in my case, the judge and the social worker attorneys themselves went viral. That's just, I don't know how to explain it to you, but they do nothing. The public defender's a waste of time. And they will not fight for you. They're friends with the social worker attorneys and the judge. At least in my case, that's speaking from firsthand. But a lot of people support me on that. A lot of people do. So it's important that you get that attorney. Now, rule number 2 is the paperwork of things. I did not keep track of my paperwork. I wish I had. You need to organize it. And the way you should organize it is get yourself a 3-ring, 6-inch binder and put subject tab in there. And because a real surgeon can't operate on your heart. That's what CPS is. It's like open heart surgery. And that's why you need a professional dependency attorney who's a fighter, who knows how to navigate CPS. So go ahead and contact Vincent Davis. He's a good one. You're not wasting your time. I hired him. He got my 2 boys back. That was rule 1. Now, rule 2 is I was talking to you about the binder. You want to stuff it full of notebook paper, college rule notebook paper. and you want to use dividers to separate. And some of the subjects for your dividers is one is called the incident. The incidents are things that happen to you during your life, your CPS case. They can be involved the police, they can involve the social worker, but anything related to CPS you should record. And when you need to write it down on a piece of paper, the date, the time, the location, and the people involved goes on the first line. The next line will be the feedback from them. And then so you want to organize yourself. You get a lot of court papers. So another one could be the court papers. And you could punch 3 holes in them and put them in there so you have them ready available, the court papers. Also, if you're taking parenting classes or if you're taking programs, you need to put the results in your notebook. I mean, after you get copies and pass them on to. So with that notebook, you want to let me see, did someone try to call in? I just saw my phone flash here. Let me see if someone tried to call in. Let me check here. Okay, calls. Nope, not since yesterday was my calls. Well, that's ready to take phone calls, so it should be taking phone calls here. So you got that notebook, and you got it divided and organized. And the reason why is you need to have that for your attorney, you need it for yourself because you're not going to remember 6 months from now. You're going to want to have something to keep your records going. And I emphasize good note taking will help you in the long run. Use highlighters, use pink and yellow highlighters to highlight things so you can come back to refer to it. But it should be a notebook that you can keep things organized and so forth. And a 6-inch is not that bad to carry around. It's a big one. It's a big one. See, 6 inches about that. Yeah, it's a big one. So that's rule number 2. We've talked about getting an attorney, how important it is. And then rule number 2 is your paperwork. And then I want to talk about rule 3. And that's the one that we all make mistakes on, including myself, is we allow CPS or police into our home. And we got to stop doing that because they'll use everything they can against you. If you say no, you can't come in, that's fine. They'll try to come back with a warrant or try to get you the next time. Be prepared. So, when someone comes knocking at your door, don't answer it. Do not answer your door. That's the common mistake that people make. And I'll relate a story of a guy named Roger in Gainesville, Florida, a black veteran, an airman. He's in the United States Air Force, young age, and he had graduated from high school in Alabama and enlisted in the Air Force, and he had a real simple life. He worked hard in a nice apartment, lived alone, and he answered the door and was point blank shot 5 times by the sheriff of Gainesville. There was no need to shoot a man. He was armed with a gun at his side, but not pointing at the officer. Because the way the officer approached the door is he knocked on the door several times without saying anything. And he finally said everything. It wasn't too friendly. It was very, very intimidating. So the guy wanted to see who was at the door and was all the commotion. And he was dead. He was talking to his girl on FaceTime and he died on the phone. And the officer was trying to investigate domestic violence, but there was no domestic violence there. And he could have, maybe when the first time he knocked, he could have said in a nice tone, I'm with the Gainesville Sheriff's Department. We have a report of domestic violence. Is anyone in your home? And the guy could have, maybe loosened up and talked or whatever it is. But so that is for you to think the mental picture of that man shot to death. And that could be you. So if a social worker, and there is Archie from Liberia. Welcome, Archie. Glad you made it in here. I'm just joining. Thanks for the show. Liberia, you're with the Scout Association and is representing through me. We also deal with similar child protection issues in our scouting activities. I'm so glad to hear that, Archie. And again, thank you for joining us. Archie is from Liberia. Yes, I do have people from around the world. And he's involved as a scouter and he is protecting his children. He's everywhere. Children need to be protected, but also parents don't need to be abused or taken advantage of. And agree, so, when they come to your home, they're going to try to inspect and find something wrong with your home. So that's when you let them in. And they usually come with the police to intimidate you. But you can hold your ground and say, get a hold of your attorney. And you speak to someone regarding legal matter. We're just hoping that you get also, don't let them, when you're in your home, take your children. They have to have a court order. The easiest way to deal with them, if you encounter them outside, is say, I need to speak to my attorney. And before I go much further, let me have your name and your badge number, whatever it is. So it is really, really important that you protect your castle, your home. So it's really, really, really important there. Um, so there's another part of this too. There's something called medical trafficking, and medical trafficking is where they take a your child when you bring them into the hospital. Let's say something's wrong and you want to see how they're doing. You want to get treatment. And so you take them to the hospital, and for whatever reason, a social worker will be on staff and they'll try to take your children, saying you're not taking good care of them, or try to blame something on you. Also, if you're going to have a baby, they'll try to take your child in the birthing room. It's terrible. There's no protection out there, so be careful of medical trafficking. Social service is not your friend. They're not there to help. They should be, but they're not. So when you talk to them, it's yes, no answers. Be polite. Same thing with the police. Be polite, but you don't need to divulge what's going on in your life to them. And so, I'm telling you, is to be really careful with the door, and also letting your children go. There was a case the other day where a woman actually had um, called in, and that she said that her children were taken from her, and all she was doing, the time the social workers came into the yard, and there was a gate, they didn't ask for permission. They opened the gate. They saw the man who was the father working the yard, and they asked, "Can we talk to your wife?" And what you should have said to them is that, "I need to talk to my attorney. We'll get back to you. What's your name?" So, I'm telling you that in the hospital or in your home, it's no to social workers, no to police. They have to have something called a warrant. Now, a warrant is a documentation that is a legal document that the judge will provide. The social worker can go to the court and make up lies and say you're a deadbeat parent, your kids are in danger, I need to remove them from your home. And that's happened to parents that are not. And that warrant must be signed by a judge. It must have a stamp, embossed stamp at the bottom. It must also be addressed to the person being accused, and also what's going on with the kids, the allegations, and the children involved. Also, um, so I'm telling you that those are the three rules. Rule one, get an attorney. You need one. Rule two, keep track of your paperwork. Rule three, don't let them in your home. Say no to social workers or police on that. Now, there's certain topics that I've talked about. One is called the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act. Now, that was instituted in 1978 for the protection of Indian children. The Indian Welfare Child Act was to protect protect the Indian children from the abuse of CPS workers that were trying to have the Indian children adopted instead of doing family reunification. So it's real important that if you are an Indian, a Native American Indian, that's the first immigrants that came over via Alaska. If you're a Native American, you have to be registered with the tribe. Now, the tribe is one of the 547 federal recognized tribes, like the Crow, the Cheyenne, Lakota Sioux, the Arapaho, the Mohawks. There's so many tribes, 547. So I implore you to follow those rules, to get your children registered. Um, the CPS has to help you. Contact the Indian tribe if you're not registered, and they'll register you. The child is placed with the tribe into Indian families who will help you reunify and get your kids back. And that's a lot better for Indian children instead of being abused like that. Now, a lot of you, if you've gone through your case and you want to see the judge and you have new evidence, like you completed all your parenting classes, you completed your programs, um, what you do is you um, so the other motion that's really important that I was talking about in California is called the 388. And it's a motion to show cause of new evidence and to enter into court. It's your motion to request a hearing from the judge. So you go before the judge and submit your new evidence, such as your completed programs, your anger management, your drug rehab, or your parenting classes, or you've drug tests every week and you're tested negative for a year. Um, those kind of things you need to enter into court. You said the judge is. So in California, it's called a 388 motion, but in other states, it's not called a 388. But it's a really important document. Every state has it. And it's important that you're able to work in with the system. Now, you'll find that the courts aren't that great. Mine was terrible. And um, now we have about, let me see, how much time do we have left? We have about 15 minutes left. I'd like a call in from one of you listeners. You can call it 626-698-0990, or you can text in a comment. I'd love to hear from you and answer your questions. So, some people have asked, what is ICPC? It's a private organization, and it's supposed to help transferring your children from one state to another, and not get lost, not get hurt. And it's an independent organization that, let's say your child has special needs and it has to go to from Georgia to Texas. You need an ICPC, because children is still very considered to be precious. So I can't emphasize. Let me see what else we got going here. I'm trying to find. No, I don't want that one there. Okay. The way abuse is reported is either through a layman or a professional person. By law, professional people like doctors, nurses, policemen, counselors, principals, they are required by law to report a suspected um, um, allegation um, of child abuse or neglect. Okay, I'm trying to find. We did talk. Faye talked about intrinsic and extrinsic fraud and relief against judgments. There's no statute of limitations. If your case is over, you can sue the agency. I could sue the agency, but I lack the funds to hire an attorney. And my social worker lied underneath oath. So I wanted to talk about that. Um, okay. One thing that's important to learn is how the flow system of your case is. It starts off with a call to the child abuse hotline. And then there's an investigation that happens within 24 hours. They have to investigate that call. The sad part in my case was my in laws were reporting things weren't true. My wife's family was really bad towards us, and they were constantly making our life miserable. So after the investigation, then the investigation will include an attempt to visit the home. Um, then they're going to set a detention hearing within 72 hours of the case of the detention hearing. And that detention hearing is to hear about your case and start a plan. There's something called a safety plan, which is where your children should be at. Now, it's important that you give them next of kin or family members because children are a lot better to stay with them than they are with foster care or strangers and shelters. So you want to do that. And so, um, with that being said, is that you follow that plan. That plan is going to tell you parenting classes. It's also the plan also include where your kids are going to stay at and how you're going to see them, how you're going to visit them. As I say, make sure you have them stay with family or relatives, and they can be far away. They don't have to be in state, and so that's one way that you can look at um, uh, having the safety of your children. I mean, your children is going to be so much abused in the system. I'm so sad to tell you that. My children were, and everybody I talk to is the same way. There is no scruples anymore left in the social. Uh, the social is really broken and it's corrupt. And how we're going to fix it is a long uphill battle with Congress getting involved. It seems lately that's all that Congress listens. It listens to the So it behooves you to watch how your case is being handled by looking at that flow chart. You know, it's so important that you understand the steps that your children are being taken through. And, you know, there's 6 months reviews, and it's a long process of unification. It could be like, I don't know, the life of the case could be over a year. Mine was 3 years. Mine was 3 years. And I did get back after I hired Mr. Davis. My children, three of my boys were, excuse me, two of my boys were returned. I lost my daughter. And the reason why I lost my daughter is that the social worker while I was on the stand lied, and she wanted to take revenge. So she told my daughter, who was 12 at the time, that you're going to divorce your parents, you're going to change your name, and you're going to seal your birth certificate and be adopted in the child care system. And what happened was my daughter listened and followed. She at 12 did not know how to do that. So that was done before her. So she has a new first name she gave herself and a last name. So be very, very, very careful. Listen. Watch the plan. Look at your paperwork. If you don't have the paperwork, you can ask for the paperwork from the clerk. They'll provide you the paperwork and no charge if you're low income. So that's one way you get your paperwork. And that way you grab your paperwork, organize it into that 6-inch 3-ring binder so you can keep track of it and so forth. Um, Archie, you've been in the room for a little bit. Is there any questions I can help you with? Archie, is there anything you'd like to ask? And I can try to answer your question. Now, I want to wrap things up because it's getting close to the end of our show. Our show is only 1 hour, and we try to talk about questions you guys may have. Today, we really haven't had much activity um, with questions, and the regular people are not here. But I want you to know you will get your children back. It takes time, and that's something you're going to have to live with. I did too. Mine was so hard. The only thing I was neglected of, I was charged with neglection, is my parents' belongings. You know, I had them in my house because I could afford the storage, and I was going to disseminate them to family and friends like they asked. So I packed everything up in boxes, what little they had, and put in my home. And before long, um, um, so if it may sound a little, you know, sometimes when you have your case yourself, maybe this could tell you, you all feel it. See, I lost my daughter. She's 21 now. And she was abused by the foster care parents that had adopted her. And she was coached and coerced and alienated from us as parents, both my wife and her. And it's her youngest daughter. And we're trying to regain, you know, communication with her. But right now, you know, with her new name and she's now, I think, she's living with her sister, which is our older daughter, and which is good and so forth. But I know that she's safe. But it's hard when you don't have that child anymore. You create something, and for 12 years, I was involved in that child so much for 12 years. And now they've been stolen from me. My heart's still broken. It's been over 15 years. You never get over the person that you love, person like children. And children are so important. So I want you all to take care of your children, keep fighting, and don't give up. And you can call me tonight at 7 o'clock, and we can talk further about your case if you'd like to talk. Um, I know it's a hard thing you're going through, and I want you to know and understand that I care about you, and I really want to see your children enjoy life as meant to be. With that further, um, anyway, um, I want to wish you all your luck. I'll see you tonight at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time with your questions. I thank you for all your emojis and all your responses and so forth. Thank you, Archie, for showing up again from Liberia. Glad to have you here. And I want you all to know that there is a light at the tunnel and that you will see your children. I did, but it's only because I got an attorney. So think about getting an attorney. That's one of the keys to success to do that. So, wow, we have someone calling the last minute here. Yes, welcome. This is Bob. Hi. Can you speak up?
I'm sorry, is this the calling for the CPS?
Yeah, you called me in, and it's about 3 minutes left of our show. It's just ready to sign off, but I will talk to you for a minute or so here. What city and state are you from?
I'm in Tulare in California.
Okay, so you're on the West Coast here. And what is your case about? What's your CPS case about?
So my son, my two children were taken away, and now they're trying to talk about permanently keeping him away from me for having marijuana in my system.
Right, right.
Legal here in California.
But it's not legal to do it in front of the children, so it depends on how they're accusing you.
Yeah, no, it was never done in front of the children. They're just mad that it's in my system. And I quit smoking it a couple months ago. It's just not all the way out of my system yet.
Yeah, yeah.
I happen to be an EMT. I just recertified. I have one more test to take, and I'm an EMT again.
All right.
And they're still just hanging this marijuana thing over my head. I had a parenting class teacher who told me to get a hold of you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And I can try to help you. What you need to do is you need to call me back at 7 o'clock tonight, if you can do that. And we can take your case right at the beginning of the show. I'm on at 7 o'clock, okay?
Okay, I absolutely can do that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you for calling in. It was a pleasure to meet you, and God bless you, and we'll talk soon. Okay, we had a call come in the last minute. My show is over. I have about 10 seconds here. God bless you all, and this is Bob Pace signing off, and I'll see you tonight at 7 o'clock p.m.